There was a huge update to Automobilista 2 over the weekend, and one of the biggest changes was including LFM multiplayer ranked racing for the first time. Now, I gave it a go, and I'll run through my thoughts of racing competitive AM2 online, and I'll also explain how to get it set up and how to get started. Let's do it. So for starters, let's go through LFM, how it works, and how to go racing against other wheel people on the internet. So LFM stands for Low Fuel Motorsports, and it's a free online service for hosted ranked online racing. LFM has already been going for a few years now. You'll probably remember it mostly from ACC, but it also runs races in Assetto Corsa as well. The AMS2 portion of LFM launched this weekend, and while it is still in beta, it's already pretty good. It's been really busy, and there have been multiple splits of racing over the weekend at a time, especially in the IMSA and the LMP2 series. So to get started on LFM, you'll need to go to their website and create an account. You can do that by clicking at the very top right of the page and linking to your Steam account. It's also worth noting that you do need to own a copy of Automobilista 2 as well, but once you've created an LFM account, you should read the rules and expectations of their service, but otherwise, in the beta, you're pretty much good to jump into a race straight away. From the main screen, you'll see all the series that are currently running. Some of them only run very rarely. For example, the Formula Classic series isn't running until like the weekend, and what is running regularly at the moment is like the IMSA series or the LFMSA series, running the new IMSA content. There's also the LMP2 series and a Junior Cup. These series are running fairly regularly. It's on a timer where you can do like one race and then you can jump out and have like a 10-minute break and then still sign up for the next race as well. On these series pages, you'll also see how many drivers have signed up for each race. If it hits a certain amount, of course, the race will split into multiple servers by your ELO rating. And talking about ELO really quickly, LFM tracks your performance with a safety rating and an ELO rating. And just like every other sim racing game at the moment, the safety rating is fairly obvious. If you crash into people or like have a shunt, you'll lose safety rating, and if you do clean laps, you will gain safety rating. And the ELO is based upon where you finish in a race. So if you finish in the top half of a race against like high ranked opponents, you will gain ELO, and if you crash or you finish near the bottom, you will lose ELO. What this means though is that if there's lots of people racing, you'll be paired against drivers of your own skill level, but because this just started, everyone's around the middle, so the races are a little bit all over the place at the moment, as you'll probably see later in the video. In the series info, you can also see more information about the races that you're joining. You can see the license or safety rating requirements, which are basically rock bottom at the beta. You basically just need to like not have an F safety rating. You can also see the weather. You can see like the times for each session. For example, IMSA is running with like a 5-minute practice, an 8-minute solo qualifying, and then a 30-minute race. Another cool thing is that LFM will show you which content that you will need for the series that you're running. For example, the IMSA series says that it requires both endurance packs, the Lambo pack, and the IMSA track pack DLCs. Now, I can't confirm this, so take this with a grain of salt and don't sue me, but I've heard that you can enter race servers on tracks that you don't actually own the DLC for as well in multiplayer racing. So for example, I only own the first endurance pack, which has some LMDh cars in it, and I don't need the other car pack as I won't be using the Lamborghini LMDh or the other ones. I also don't need the IMSA track pack, as I'll still be able to access Road Atlanta on the server. Now the downside of this is that I can't do any single player testing offline. The only laps that I can do is on the multiplayer server. Now, this is what I've heard. I need to stress, I don't know if this is legit. At the moment, AMS2 has like a free weekend for all the new DLC. So all of the new DLC is currently free as of when I'm recording this. So I'm pretty sure this is how it works. You don't need to own all the bits of DLC, but I should stress that you should check that out. Now, if you don't want to worry about that or buying any DLC at all, there are some series that don't require any of it, and the one at the moment is the Junior Cup, which is using base content. In this case, it is the Ginetta at Kansai Suzuka East Circuit. Now, once you're ready to go, you can click sign up, and sign-ups close about 10 minutes before the servers go up. And once the server is live, you should take note of the server number as well as the split that you're in. Then you load up AMS2, go to the multiplayer section of the game and join that server. Now, my first tip for LFM racing is to do some practice. And this is especially true if you've started racing AMS2 for the first time, or if, like me, you've played a lot of AMS2, but you haven't played it in a couple of months, so you're jumping in for the first time in a while. I was a bit clueless as to what tires to use. Luckily, the game offers a set by weather option. I also upped my fuel for the race because I figured it will go kind of longer than the default fuel tank, so I would have a look at what laps you're doing in practice and look at the length of the race and base your fuel tank off that. Now, I've got to be honest, I was impressed with driving the LMDh and AMS2 for the first time. It's still got that Automobilista 2 thing where if you turn the wheel, just turn the wheel more, it seems to turn more, and there's no understeer. But honestly, it felt really nice. I like the way that the car moved around. It sounded fantastic. It looks really good. And I especially love the noises that the car kind of made bottoming out going through turn 1 and also riding the curbs through the final section of Road Atlanta. It's great to see a modern version of Road Atlanta in a sim. I'm used to the iRacing version, which is a little bit dated, so this version looks really, really good. So I jumped into the race and I'd qualified 5th on the grid, which I thought was pretty good, all things considered. The game has a kind of grid, a lights countdown, even though it's a rolling start. So I'm not sure if you can get a penalty for jumping this, but it does seem quite easy to jump the start as well and beat everyone else. So just be aware of that. Once the lights went green, I made it to turn 1. And then going off the hill, I saw someone lose it on the grass a little bit. Then they came back and hit me. And then I saw someone else lose it on the grass. And then we were involved in one of the biggest shunts in sim racing that I've had in a long time. I was fully upside down backwards in the catch fence at 160 kilometers an hour. I cannot express how funny this was at the time. I was driving up the hill. I was like, oh, this is good. First race. And then all of a sudden, just the largest crash I've had. I was losing it laughing. It was very funny. Anyway, my first race was a DNF, unfortunately, and a large hit to my ratings. My second race, though, went a lot better. I fixed my settings and I jumped into the Junior Cup in the Ginetta at Kansai East. I actually had a heap of fun with this combo. You had to use kind of all the road that you could and the curbs, and you'd get kind of dropping wheels in the grass and stuff. You'd have to carry as much speed as possible, and this car has a H-pattern gearbox, so you did need to use the clutch on upshifts as well. Now, I poled this race, and from the standing start, I led, and I pretty much drove away from the field, even though I almost got a jump start because the car was rolling down the hill. But yeah, I drove all the way to the finish and won. There was a moment when a lapped car forgot to hold their brakes and rolled backwards across the track and hit me, and I did a full 360 but kept going, and I had enough of a gap that I still won. I would show you a replay of this, but I saved the replay, but then the replay broke in AMS2. It's a bit confusing. But yes, it was an exciting race. So that's been my experience so far of LFM on AMS2. These are my first impressions getting it set up. I've done a heap of LFM racing in ACC and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to jump into some more in AMS2 and do some more races, and hopefully I will make it past turn 1 in IMSA next time. I think it is good so far. The netcode has honestly surprised me by it's been surprisingly good, even considering that I'm racing from Australia. And the collision model is probably kind of funky. It seems to launch cars into the air, as I found out, but I almost consider that a feature, not a bug. The only other thing I have to say is that some of the driving standards are a little bit out there at the moment. People are kind of figuring out the limits because everyone starts on the same safety rating in ELO. The grids are a little bit jumbled up, so hopefully that'll even out and everyone will become a little bit nicer to each other on the track moving forward. Will you be trying LFM on AMS2? Let me know in the comments. If you've been trying it already, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like, and you can also subscribe to Overtake for more sim racing videos. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.